Welcome back to the greenhouse, guys. I'm getting some good sweat on out here. It's mighty warm in the greenhouse. We're sitting about 78 to 80 degrees out here. It was about 60, 62 this morning, which is pretty warm. We've had some 40s and 50s overnight. Fall's definitely coming and it's getting cooler. So we are going to be trying some 60-day potatoes here inside the greenhouse. We're gonna grow some indoor potatoes here, and I wanted to share this process with everybody. As I've gotten all these sandbags, I've got our compost, I've got our potatoes, I've got some rocks that I found in all of our soil, and I've got a brand new bed that we made for basically free with all of the soil and sand and rock that we are excavating from our pond inside the greenhouse. So we really haven't even broken surface much on that greenhouse pond. We've skimmed maybe 6 inches across the entire surface area of where the pond's going to be. So we've excavated ourselves about 1,000 pounds of soil out. I've got 12 bags here and 8 in the ring. Can't really see the bed that I've built yet, but I'm going to go over all this and I'm going to show the whole process and talk about the underlayments of this potato bed for indoors. So the first thing I want to talk about is the bare minimum temperature we saw last winter was 42 degrees. So 45 was the average low temperature for really cold days. When we had a polar vortex, we had -60, -50 mile an hour wind chills blowing over this, and it was -30 outside. So it was very cold out, and we still had 42 degrees on the soil in the greenhouse from our compost heat. So 40 degrees even is the lowest temperature that your potatoes will stop growing at, and they will start to die back. So if we can keep our soil above 40 degrees in this little bed we're going to build up, then I think we'll have good success and we're going to be able to harvest some of these potatoes. So we just started October here, so we have 60-day potatoes, and that leads me to the first thing. You want to pick the right seeds. You don't want a late season harvest for a quick grow. You're going to have 80-day potatoes or 120-day potatoes on a 60-day bed. So we have our own 60-day potatoes. You can see they've got little eyes on them and stuff. That is another main factor. You want to do all of the prep work. You want to let these sit, throw them in a little soil that's moist. We've got eyes popping off of all of these spuds, and that's a main factor in having success with these potatoes. You really have to make sure they have some type of eye or growth, because these are going to grow up and they are going to need soil on top of them, and if they don't have those spuds grown, they may rot on you before they start to produce vegetative growth. Now, another huge factor in growing indoor potatoes is, as you can see, I am in the direct sun right here. I have a shade cloth over me blocking 30% of the light, but we have a very warm little bed here. I have had these sandbags down for about 3 hours now. I put all these down and then I filled the rest and got everything ready for you guys. So these are very warm. These bags are holding some heat down here, and these ones are building heat. As they sit in the sun, they are definitely warming up. They're warmer than the rock because they have a little bit of a darker surface, and having a light surface over a dark surface is going to have 10 to 15 degrees more thermal transfer from the sun. Now, if you can get good sunlight, even if you use artificial sunlight inside, this can be done. You have to feed them though. If you're going to be inside, they have to be fed about monthly, and they have specific regimens for them. You can use your own fresh compost, and if you mix your compost with your native soil, you will have good success with that, and you shouldn't have to buy too much to add to the actual mixture to get your potatoes to grow. We have plenty of good soil, good humus, all built up. We've got a huge bucket of fresh compost here. You can see all this fresh compost. Hopefully that focuses on there. So we've got a ton of fresh compost that we are going to be putting in this bed around the potatoes. It is fully finished. There's nothing else that left to break down, so we don't have to worry about rotting our potatoes or any negative effects from our compost. So that is going to add and make sure, just to make sure that I don't have to feed this bed. We can have 60-day potatoes and just keep hilling and not have to worry about adding any more compost. So bed soil was pretty darn important, but we have good soil in here. I'm not really worried about it, and I've been allocating a whole lot of empty pot soil and a lot of soil from inside the greenhouse as we excavated. Nice sandy soil and loamy soil that does not have any rocks in it. So moving into the planting of these potatoes here, you really want to make sure they all have eyes on them already, or some type of little growth. That way you know for sure they are going to succeed. So as we place all of these in here, I'm just going to take a second and place all these in, eyes up. So now that I've got all these placed in here, it's going to be a heavy sowing because I don't usually plant them this close together. We've got about 16 potatoes planted in this maybe 4 foot by 3 foot, 3.5 foot bed. It's almost 4 foot square. So we've got plenty of room for these to expand, but we are going to have a lot of clutter. So that is why we're going to put all of this compost in here, because we're going to allow all of these potatoes to expand, and we're going to have plenty of nutrients for all of them so they're not competing with each other. So after we've planted these potatoes in the ground here, we've got them all set up, and you're like, man, he didn't plant those. Those are just sitting right on the surface. Yes, they are. Now, potatoes are going to grow up. They are not going to grow down. They're going to grow out to the side. They're going to grow up. That being said, the most important thing is hilling these potatoes. So after we've got them planted, I'm going to set these up here. We had a few potatoes that didn't have eyes, but there's a lot that do still. So I'm going to possibly plant those in another spot in the greenhouse as an experiment, but this bed should do really well. You can see the layout now. I've got all these sandbags nice and level. We have to put soil on top, and we continually have to keep placing soil on every week or every 2 weeks as they continue growing, because they're just going to keep expanding and expanding. So what I'm going to do is take these bags, I'm going to fill these bags in, I'm going to set the camera up here, and then we will come right back and talk about the rest of this process. We have greatly increased the depth of this bed. I have almost 10 inches of soil to fill on top of these potatoes. So we're gonna take our compost, and that's gonna be the first thing that goes in. We've got all of this nice, rich, loamy compost. Very, very good stuff. Super happy with the compost rings. Our compost rings were very, very beneficial because we just pull the ring right off and grab everything from the middle and then compost the rest that's not broke down. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna spread it everywhere. Break all this up. And being that this compost is pretty well broke down for about 1.5 years, I am really not concerned with any nitrogen draw, any bugs or pests. If you have fresh compost, you could burn these with nitrogen, or you could have grubs, all types of bugs. You could have pathogens, bacteria, anything that could harm these potatoes. So I would highly suggest using fresh and finished compost that you have heated up and you know it's been cooked and it is sterile basically. Now that we've got this compost down and covering most of the potatoes, let's go check out this little bed where I've been allocating all of our old pots from the farmer's market all summer long. Coming right down here past the sandbags, we've got this little bed right here that we've been getting allocated for just this right here. We've got a whole bunch of native soil and a whole bunch of mixed in old soil, a bunch of composted soil, and everything from the farmer's market. So we've got a ton of good, clean soil that shouldn't have a whole lot of seeds in it from weeds or anything like that. So we're gonna take all this recycled soil and fill it in our beds. Well guys, I am super excited with the way this bed turned out. Let's come down and try and get a close look at it. You cannot see any potatoes. Our potatoes are about 2 inches under the soil. So you can see that we've got about 4 to 6 inches left in this bed that we can fill. So that should do it up to the end of these potatoes. We shouldn't have to build this up anymore and add another layer of sandbags. And when I was going around and building this, before I started, I didn't show this process, and I kind of wish I would have, but it was a lot of work. I've been out here for about 2 hours. So this brick right here, it's maybe 14, 16, 18 inches long or something, and about 8 inches across, and it's about 2-3 inches thick. So I took that brick and I laid a whole bunch of those bricks down underneath these sandbags at an angle, so anything trying to burrow underneath is going to hit a brick wall, and they're going to have to really dig down through rock and all types of clay and stuff just to get underneath these potatoes. So I really hope those rocks keep the pests off of my potatoes, and it was just a little DIY idea that I thought of. Instead of using mesh or screen, which is going to poke the crap out of me and my sandbags, I'm sweating here. So I decided to use the bricks because I'm going to be able to reuse those over and over. I'm not going to have to bury mesh or deal with all of that. So hopefully we have good success. We have a good open area down at the bottom, straight down to soil. Nothing's blocking it, but the entire perimeter is basically stone walled in. If anyone's got any questions on these potatoes, these sandbags were the hardest part about all this. I spent some time filling all these sandbags. We can go take a look at the pond area because I just showed the first video where we got our sandbags in here, and you cannot even tell that I really dug anything out. It's absolutely crazy. All these tomatoes getting so tall in here. We're gonna have to really start cleaning all these up because I'm not sure how much more produce the tomatoes will produce before it gets cold on us. So they're gonna be wasted space, and I'm gonna need my cold crops in there. So I may do a video tearing all these tomatoes out and sharing all of the good cold hardy stuff we can plant. So taking a look at the pond area, this is it. You can only see maybe 6 inches down. We did not excavate a whole lot, but we had taken at least 1,000 pounds of soil out of here. Our geothermal is running again, just not 100%. I'm going to use some type of drain snake and try and drain snake. I think there's dirt or something in there from condensation through the summertime. So I don't think it collapsed on me. It's not collapsed, I don't believe, but hopefully we can get this figured out. I believe that it's just a little bit of condensation that led to some cloggage from soil getting trapped in there and dirt getting spilled in it. So that would just be my fault. And I just wanted to show the little pond area. There'll be plenty of updates on that as we develop the pond area for the winter time here and start heating this greenhouse with compost. We've got millions and millions of moving parts all the time, and just wanted to share this one here with everybody. So before I let everybody go, please hit that like, subscribe, notification bell, and drop any questions, comments, or anything you think I should be doing better to insulate these potatoes. I thought about using straw on top, but I thought that might draw the pests even more. So anybody's ideas are welcome, and thank you guys again for being subscribed and watching all these videos.